What is up, RC enthusiasts? Check it out. Today we're going to be talking about leaky shocks. Now, it doesn't matter if you have the all plastic body stock shocks or you have the aluminum upgrade, which is just pretty much an aluminum body but still pretty much the same shock. I'm going to show you what problem I've had with mine. Now, both of mine, this one and this guy right here, have both leaked shock oil. And this was prior to me putting the aluminum shocks on here. But now that I have the aluminum shocks on here, I haven't had experienced any shock oil leakage. I don't know if you can tell how dry my shocks are. There's no leaking on this one. And no leaking on this guy right here. I wish I could show it better, but you can tell it would be wet right there if it was leaking. Yeah, so let me go ahead and show you what I think is going on, why these shocks leak, especially right out the box. And people can go ahead and fix this, no cost, you don't need anything. I actually called Traxxas and they sent me the O-ring kit to replace because they thought it was leaking, but I actually just took the shocks apart, put it back together, and I figured out this is probably what's happening. So let's go ahead and let's check it out. So let's take a closer look at this guy right here. As you can see right here, if I pull the spring up, you can tell mine are completely dry. There's no leaking going on there. And what I can tell what happens when this spring compresses up and down, especially fast compressions and stuff, and if this spring isn't centered correctly, or there's a chance for it to grab onto this bottom plastic piece right here, it'll usually grab that bottom plastic piece and pull it off slightly. So when that happens, your oil starts leaking out of your shock. That's what I noticed with mine. So when I took mine apart, put it back together, snapped them back in place after cleaning it up and everything and filling them back up with oil properly, these things didn't leak oil anymore, even with a plastic body. But that seems to be the issue right there, so that's definitely something that needs to be taken care of. I wish it was a screw-on cap at the bottom right there. And as you can tell right here, you can see there's a lip. So if you tumble down a hill or something, there's a chance it could snag on that, pull that cap just a little bit off, cock it a little sideways, and you're going to be leaking oil. So if you notice that happening, just give that a check. That's usually where it leaks oil. I haven't witnessed any oil leaking up here. Just don't over tighten it, and everything should be good. That's the only place it really could leak oil. The O-rings, you know, if they're new, they should still be good. Unless the O-rings got damaged by the threads down there because they were installed too roughly, I don't see that being an issue. I would just uninstall them, clean them up, put some grease on them, maybe some waterproof grease on the O-rings, something that's silicone safe. And then put them back in there and snap that piece back on there and try to center the spring as much as you can so it doesn't snag on that. And that's pretty much all you can do with this, and I haven't had any leaking ever since. So the best way to negate that is to make sure when you're compressing the spring up and down like this, the spring itself is not snagging on the body or that plastic piece in the bottom. Because if it does, it'll pull that cap off and start your shock leakage. So usually if you do this, make sure it's, you know, centered on there. If the spring is not centered on there, you can kind of twist it or turn it around a little bit until it's more like evenly spaced throughout, so it's not rubbing on the body, the shock body. It's best to try to center that spring out too while it's already installed, so you're not touching it again. And then you can put your wheel on, and it should be good to go. So there you guys go. It might not be the end all be all of fixes, but I guarantee you that's most of your guys' problems right there, because both of mine ended up with that problem shortly after running them for the first time out the box, and within a couple of like battery packs. I had this one right here leaking one front and one rear shock, and this one was only leaking one rear shock. And after I go ahead and checked them out and took them apart and put them back together, made sure they snapped in place well, and I also made sure that the springs weren't snagging on them when they articulate up and down, when the springs are compressing up and down, making sure there's no, because you'll hear the spring rubbing against the body. So if you don't hear that, you pretty much fixed your issue, as you can tell, like I showed earlier. None of mine are leaking any oil. It's really hard to show in the lighting I have right now, but yeah, they're all dry. Well, there you go, guys. Hope that helps some of you guys' issues, and that gets rid of your leaky problems on your oil shocks. Well, until next time, guys, be safe out there, and go have fun, and run that RC.